What is up? It's a Figure Hunter, and today we have the new Garmin Fenix 7 and Epix Pro series of watches. We have the Epix Pro 51mm and we have the Fenix 7 Pro, and both of these are the sapphire titanium models. So we're going to dive into the overview of what the new features are, the new hardware, the new sort of outside exterior features, as well as the software features. We're going to compare it to the Fenix 7X so you can see some of the feature differences between the new Pro series on either the Epix 51mm or the Fenix 7 Pro. So we're going to compare the features there. So we're going to dive in a second. If you like this review, please give it a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing for more. I'm probably going to do a review of what watch faces come new on the 7 Pro series as well as the Epix Pro series. And we'll do, obviously a lot of heart rate testing with the new Elevate 5.0 heart rate test. So in this review, we're going to do the first workout analysis. So you'll see some of the results there. So when we get into the details now, we're going to do primarily a hands-on. We're just going to look at these watches hands-on, talk about some of the new features that are universal to the Pro series of watches. And then we're going to compare each one separately side by side to the Fenix 7X and talk about some of the style or design differences there. And then we're going to talk about some of the new software features, which will trickle down to the entire Fenix 7 series. So with that, let's dive in. All right, so here you have the new two watches. So you have the Epix Pro 51mm as well as the Fenix 7 Pro. Both these are the sapphire and titanium models. So we're going to talk about it sort of in layers. First, just looking at the general design differences that are now available in the new watches, the Pro Series watches. Simple, small design difference is going to be the band. It's a little slight, got ridges to it. It's not like the older Garmin bands that had thicker ridges to it, which I didn't like as much. These are more subtle, which I actually don't mind. It's got the new Elevate 5.0 sensor, which is going to track more accurately, or we'll test to see if it's going to track more accurately workouts and any other health-related metrics on top of that. So those are the basic things. All the Pro variants now have multi-band GPS with Sat IQ, so no variant differences there. And we're going to look at the feature differences in a moment. They all have 32 gigabytes of storage for downloading playlists or putting topological maps on the systems. So here are the two side by side, the new Fenix 7 Pro alongside the Epix Pro. They all have flashlights, which we're going to talk about in just a second when comparing it to the older Fenix 7 series, or what we would call the original series. But these are the new watches, and we'll see some real screen differences in a second. But if we were to compare the Epix to the 7X, there's a couple of really interesting things to me about this. Just to note, I like to note sometimes third-party developers. This is called Weatherface by a developer that I'll put up on the screen now. It's actually a really cool watch face you can download. But looking at the size and overall spec differences, they are the exact same size. Both 51mm. They're both 16mm thick when measured sort of like real-world hands-on. They're both 86 grams in weight, so same exact weight. So you're not, losing anything or gaining any extra poundage. When you look at the flashlight, so they both have flashlights, which is obviously a very big plus, but they're 44 lumens from 1.5 feet, 44 lumens measured on the Fenix 7X, and 81 lumens measured on the Epix Pro 51mm. You can see that the diameter is a little bit different, so this is going to be a little more focused, whereas the 7X is a little bit more broad. But you have about twice the overall brightness when you look at the new Epix series, at least on the 51mm side. So I think that's basically sums up the difference. What's interesting about the Epix 51mm is it's got 31 days in not always on display, so wrist gesture display only, versus the original 7X had 28 days if you're not counting solar. So it actually is slated to be longer without solar charging, and it's obviously got 11 days if you're using always on display. So some differences there. And if you look at the 7 as it compares to the, let's actually go to a different watch face so you can see somewhat of a comparison. Okay, so different watch face so you can see a comparison of the screen brightness. I don't know if you can tell, but is clearer and brighter on the new 7 series, the 7 Pro series. Definitively so. So I took a light meter to it. It's actually putting out 66 lumens on the 7 series original, and this is putting out 88 lumens on the new 7 Pro series. So it is 33% brighter in the backlight. As well, it's getting the same battery life on all the sort of original models as far as what I have gathered. So it's basically giving you a better experience because you're getting better backlight for the same battery life, which is fantastic. Obviously, you're going to get the difference between the Elevate 4.0, which came on the 7 series, and Elevate 5.0, which comes on the 7 Pro series. And if you look at the backlight or the brightness differences of the flashlight, you're basically getting 44 lumens here again and 64 lumens. So about 50% brighter as they stated. Obviously, it's got the more narrow width to the flashlight. So let's talk about some of the overall new features. So we're not going to talk about the hardware features because they all are going to have multi-band GPS with SAT-iQ. They're all going to have 32 gigabytes of storage. They're all going to have the new Pro series, all going to have the Elevate 4.0 and these new bands. But when you look at software, all the software is going to roll down to the original Fenix 7 series. So you're not going to miss out by owning original 7 series. But let's look at some of just a few of them. So they have this new glance or widget, which is your health widget, which will basically give you a quick jump into a multiple of health related metrics. So that is a nice new feature and interesting. I didn't even see it reviewed very often on the previously released reviews. You have the endurance score, which is actually going to calculate an endurance score based on any type of workout. And it's just going to update over time. We'll sort of see what value this actually holds over time as well. You get a hill score, which I don't actually have populated in my glances because this is not a running channel. But the hill score will test or will give you a score based on your ability to sustain hills for a longer period of time. One really cool feature, and it looks fantastic on the Epix, is in the weather widget, you're going to get this weather map, which you can change the overlay if you want to focus on different pieces like cloud coverage, temperature, wind. If we just want to focus on cloud cover, and then if we want to pan and zoom in a little bit, we can do that and see if there's any cloud cover now, which there is not. Oh, there's a little bit of cloud cover. Super, super, super cool. And outside of that, you're going to get contour lines now on the maps on the activities. So if we get out of that and we start this, both of the watches, the Epix as well as the Fenix 7, have really good vibration. So that's a nice little feature. Can't see the contour lines here because it's a nighttime map, but it shows contour lines. Obviously, if you're in the mountains, if you're in different graded territories, that's actually pretty redshift. That is just uber cool. When you look at the redshift applied, and then you look at all the data pieces and any of the details to the data pieces, it just marks a complete change with that redshift light. Those are the features, software difference features. Those things are going to roll down to the original Fenix 7 series, so you're not going to miss out on some of those benefits. You're just going to miss out on some of the hardware features. So let's look at the first workout results. All right, so we're going to look at the first workout analysis. This is just sort of the beginning. So we're going to really test very rigorously. We're doing CrossFit and high intensity interval type training workouts, a lot of wrist flex. I'll try to put the movements on some of the charts going forward, but we're going to look at the charts of how the heart rate in the Heart Rate Elevate 5.0 on each of these compared to a chest strap with the same workout. And then the correlation graphs we will build over time to see what the final true correlation or comparison to a chest strap would be, which is considered the gold standard. So with that, let's dive into the charts. All right, so this is the first workout results. We had deadlifts in the beginning. Then we had basically like a 10-minute, 3 rounds for time, salt bike, toes to bar, and sandbag carry in the Metcon. Then I did some extra handstand walk work and some double under work towards the end. So you can see that on the Epix, I'm sorry, I should have said that to begin with. This is the Epix 51mm Pro. And you can see that it did not do exceptionally well relative to the chest strap. It did fair, I would say. So we're going to have to test this over time. Here is the results of the Fenix 7 Pro. And you see a lot tighter lines compared to the chest strap with one blip towards the end of the Metcon. But overall, a lot more accurate. And I would say this has got very strong accuracy. And if you look at how the correlation graphs are going to build out over time, this is the beginning of the correlation graph with the Epix X 51 millimeter Pro, or I should say the Epix 51 millimeter Pro, versus a chest strap, the Garmin HRM Pro Plus. And this is the results for the Fenix 7 Pro versus the chest strap. So we'll see how these lines come together and get the final correlation numbers over a multiple of workouts. So with that in summary, on my first day of use, what do I think of these new watches? What do I think of the new offering on the Pro line? Do I think it's worth it? I will say for sure that we're going to have to test the Elevate 5.0 because I really want to test the rigors of its accuracy when doing truly strenuous workouts that involve a lot of wrist flex. That's going to really push the limits of, is it a much more capable heart rate sensor or not? And so that jury is still out on whether these are a good upgrade or not until we get more full and complete results with the Elevate 5.0. So that's like bedrock. We've got to get that. That'd be a primary reason to really question whether you should upgrade or not. When it comes to the Epix Pro 51 millimeter, I actually am really liking it out of the box. I originally was super fired up for the 47 millimeter Epix that came out last year. And then after a while on the 47 millimeter casing, I felt like the Epix AMOLED screen just didn't match or mesh with me. And I really wanted a bigger screen and I wanted the memory and pixel transflective screen. So the Enduro 2 has been my favorite watch Garmin has had on the market for a long time. But I'm really starting to like, and it's just the first day, the Epix 51 millimeter Pro variant, because on that big screen and then to see the big, beautiful colors, I think I'm just addicted to a larger screen overall. I will say for sure, when it compares to the 965, I like the overall user interface of the Epix. I like the user interface of the Fenix 7, the way that the text is laid out, the way that notifications appear. I think they're more legible even than on the 965. I like the overall UI in general. So I'll say that out of the gate, that I didn't like the sort of mamby-pamby, softer, video game-ish 965, 265. So we'll continue to test these things. I'll do a full review. I'm going to do some, watch face sort of comparisons. I'm going to do a bunch of different things over the upcoming weeks. So with that, stay tuned. This is just the initial sort of thoughts out of the box and first day of use of the new Epix Pro 51 millimeter, as well as the Fenix 7 Pro, in both in the Sapphire Titanium variants. Fit Gear Hunter, thanks so much for watching.